So I am here with Adam from Plugged In. Hello and welcome.
Hi, Joe. How are you today?
I'm good. And what about yourself?
I am doing good. I'm doing good. I'm thoughtful. I don't want to like put a major damper on things. My best friend, who I met when we were 11 in fifth grade, his wife just died, and
Oh,
so I'm in another part of the country. I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin today because I was at her funeral yesterday, and
oh,
it makes me really reflective about life. We grew up together, went to college together, was best man in his wedding. We each got married, had kids, and then his wife got breast cancer, and it's a horrible thing. The only good part is that she's a believer in Jesus, so there's
yeah.
hope there.
Oh,
And it was a beautiful, beautiful tribute to her life, but it certainly puts everything in perspective very starkly.
absolutely. So what have you got for us today?
Well, let's start actually in a similar place. We often don't talk about stuff that has a little bit more content, but we've got an R-rated movie this week that I want to talk about. It's called The Life of Chuck, and it stars Tom Hiddleston as a 39-year-old guy who is dying of cancer. And this is an unusual kettle of fish, if you've ever heard that saying, in that it sort of starts at the end and works backwards. It's based on a Stephen King story, and there is a person having visions of sort of destruction, and so you're trying to figure out what is going on here. But it gets its R rating because there is a fair bit of language. But I think if, some people are really bothered by that, other people that wouldn't necessarily be a deal killer. It's kind of an interesting and provocative movie about life and death. And what do we
Mm.
do with the fact that we're all going to bump into this experience at some point, one way or another? And that's putting it mildly, right? um, and so this is a really redemptive film. It's based on a Stephen King short story, and Stephen King obviously is known for his horror movies and horror stories, but he's had a lot of things that quietly over the years I think have explored deep questions about the meaning of life, and this is one of those. And so it's a pretty complex plot. I would say if you want to know more about it, obviously come to pluggedin.com and check out our full review. But every now and then a movie comes along that really catches us by surprise. And apart from, my noting that there is some profanity here, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that's pretty interesting.
So what was the name of the film again?
It's called The Life of Chuck. So
Okay. And that's
it's the
out.
kind of movie that I think that you could go out to eat with friends afterwards and have a really great discussion about. So what's it
Ah,
all about? It's not a
ah.
Christian movie, but I think you could certainly launch into a conversation that deals with spiritual things after watching this one.
Yeah, it's good to think on these things, isn't it? Because, like you
Yeah.
say, we've all got to face these things sometimes.
Yep.
So, yeah, useful, brilliant. Thank you.
Yep.
Are we on more films this week or?
Let's talk music.
Oh, exciting,
Let's
different.
talk about Forrest Frank. Are you familiar with Forrest Frank?
No.
So Forrest Frank is a Christian musician whose style sort of blurs the boundary between pop and rap. He's got a really catchy, upbeat, positive vibe. And last year he had an album called Child of God that came out and just exploded in the mainstream. And so he's definitely a musician of faith, but we sometimes talk about crossover artists. He definitely is in that category, and that he's really caught fire, at least here in the US, in the mainstream. And he has a follow-up album out called Child of God 2
Oh,
that really just continues to sort of explore life, explore the things that we all deal with. And I think he's worth a listen. If you haven't checked him out, I would commend him to your listeners' attention because it's he feels very young and very fresh in the very best sense of those words.
What's his name again?
Forrest with two R's, Frank.
Forrest
So,
Frank. Okay. And
um,
pop, what would you say? Pop
pop
and
rap. I
rap.
mean, but it's
Mm,
he's sort of in. He's sort of broadly similar to what I would say 21 Pilots. They sort of skirt that pop rap thing as
yeah.
well. He might be a little bit more mainstream on the pop side of things,
Yeah.
but and he also sort of has a vibe. It's almost like some of Jason Mraz's island music or Jack
Yeah.
Johnson. There's this really positive, upbeat feel to his music. So
Yeah. It's really good to hear about different music, isn't it? Because,
it
we
is.
sometimes stick to the things we know and like.
Well, I
Uh,
do.
yeah, familiar. So it's nice. Thank you
Yeah.
to introducing us to maybe people haven't heard of him.
Yep.
So that's good.
Yep.
Part two got
Part
Child of God. Love it.
Child of God Part 2. And of course, our full review is up at pluggedin.com and you can check that out.
Fantastic. It's all there, isn't it? We
It
don't
is
have to
all
make a
there.
decision to listen
Right.
to or watch anything without
Yep.
plugged in's help.
Well, and that's why we're around. We want
Yeah.
to be your one-stop shop for everything pop culture and hopefully we have reviewed it. And if not, you can drop us a line at letters@pluggedin.com and said, hey, I'm curious about this. Would you guys consider reviewing this? And we always
Oh,
try to take those requests
wow.
seriously.
Yeah,
So
that's good to know because sometimes I do see something and I think, oh, plugged in, haven't reviewed it. I didn't know we could
yeah.
ask you to do
Oh
that.
yeah.
So that's really useful.
Send us an email and we can't always get to it. So I don't want to
Mm,
overpromise and underdeliver, but certainly if something is really popping in the mainstream and for whatever reason it just hasn't caught our attention
yeah.
yet,
Yeah.
bring it to our attention.
Fantastic. Good one.
Yeah.
So we've had a film, we've had music. Have you got anything else before
Let's
you
do
go?
another film, but let's do one that is streaming on Netflix. It is an anime movie called Lost in Starlight. And over here in the US, I need to familiarize myself with your rating system better, but it's rated PG, which we don't see much that's PG anymore. Almost everything is PG-13 or R.
Mm,
And so you might think, oh, well, that's an automatic lock, right? This has got to be great. But there are a couple things in here that I think if parents watched it, you might be like, wow, I'm surprised that's in a PG movie. So, this is a story about a 25-year-old woman named Nan Young. She has always wanted to be an astronaut and go to Mars, in part because that's what her mother did. And in fact, her mother was kind of a pioneer, but she was killed in a horrible tragedy on the surface of Mars. And so Nan wants to take up her mom's legacy. But she also falls in love with a musician named Jay. And it really is the tug of these two desires of her heart. Is she going to go to space? Because, it's one thing to go to another state or another country. It's another thing entirely to go to another planet. That's like, interplanetary long distance relationships, I'm guessing would be very hard. So is she going to go to space? Is she going to stay with Jay? Is she going to try to juggle both of those things? Interesting story. Really, if you like anime's visual style, I think you might enjoy this. But she and Jay clearly have a physical relationship. We see them in bed at one point, and there's nothing graphic,
mm,
but it's obviously very clear what is being implied about, the nature of their relationship. And I think, especially if you were watching it with younger anime fans, you might think, whoa, wait a minute. What's going on here? Why is
mm.
that in there? And I don't want to sound like a prude. I think if you're, an older fan or an adult, it's probably not going to be a deal killer. But sometimes with this sort of thing, I think especially because anime has that cartoony vibe, we can tend to think of it more as being for kids. But
Mm.
you got to be careful with anime because sometimes it goes into territory that is decidedly not for the kids. So
Right.
there's a little bit of profanity too. So a couple of those things made us scratch our heads a little bit. I'm like, wow, kind of surprised this got a PG rating.
Mm.
But again, you can find our full review at pluggedin.com.
Oh, fantastic. So, music, films, and streaming. Thank you so much, Adam. That's
You
absolutely
bet.
brilliant. Really helpful. And I will, when I get a film and it's not been reviewed by Plugged In,
Yeah.
I will get in touch. And you
Yes,
never
please
know.
do.
I guess more people who ask, the more you think, well, actually, this is really something that people want.
Yeah.
So, we just
Yep.
just keep
And
asking,
and
and you
there's so
never
much
know.
out there these days that um I'm sorry. Forgive me for talking over
That's
you.
okay.
There's so much out there these days that sometimes, we just can't see everything that's popping up. So it
Yeah.
really is helpful for
Absolutely
us. Thank
fantastic.
you.
I don't know how many films are being made or what's streaming per day, but it's thousands probably, isn't it, all over the
Yep.
world? Oh, well,
Yep.
thank you so much again, Adam. It's a real pleasure to meet with you and
Thank
look
you,
forward to
Joe.
a next time. Maybe I'll be able to come and do this again.
Yeah, I would love it.
Safe travels. Take care.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.